So, quote of the day: whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. By William Hutchison Murray. Back out in the garage again. The last thing I showed was I was getting all the suspension kind of set in so that it's kind of at the right height that I want it to be. I'll probably mess around with the toe a little bit, try to make sure the toe is decent. But my next game plan is I want to hear this engine run. So I'm not going to worry about getting the cooling plumbed up or anything like that. I did take the liberty of pulling the heater, or since I had the heater hose, heater tube out, and I'm not going to run the degas bottle. I did pinch this off, lop the end of it off, and welded this shut. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do next here, or my next plan of attack, is getting this car and just get it up on jack stands so I can get around underneath the car easier and kind of climb in and out of the inside easier. I'm going to take the dash here, since it's got all the wiring still hooked up to it, and take the plastic part of the dash off and just leave the framework with the wiring and everything. Get that back in the car, get the steering column back in the car and get all that hooked up, mostly just for the reason that it has the ignition on the column yet. So get that in there, get the fuel system in there, and get the engine management system, the Holley Terminator X, installed in this guy so that I can hear it run. Then at that point, after that, then I'll go to the next level of getting the cooling system all hooked up, getting brakes in, and getting those plumbed. And at that point, I think I'll just plop an alternator in there, I think. And then I could just throw a belt on there and hook up the water pump, be able to run the water pump and get all that stuff set on so that I can actually get the rear end in, get the drive shaft in, get the brakes all plumbed, and actually drive around the block. So that's my big goal here. We're getting pretty close to Halloween. I want to see this thing drive around the block before the snow flies here, which who knows when that could be. That could be Halloween. We've had a Halloween snowstorm back in, what was that, 91? Where we had about 3 feet of snow overnight. So it could be coming up fast, or it might not snow till December. So either way, let's hear this thing run. I'll probably plop the camera back on. I'm not really sure what I'm going to record, but I'll kind of give some updates as far as my progress. If I have any sort of issues that I come along the way, and kind of go from there. So I'm not going to bore you and record everything I do, but I'll try to keep things updated. Hopefully I won't miss any steps so that you guys can kind of follow along. Just add in another 2 cents here as I'm getting the car jacked up. So I'm thinking there should be an adapter here for an oil filter. So I did some looking. I know the F-150 kind of comes forward and hangs down. I ended up ordering one that's supposed to be meant for a Mustang, so it should be right up under here, I'm hoping. So I got that ordered from Tasca Parts, Tasca Ford, and that's on its way. I had a hard time finding the bolts. There's supposed to be 4 bolts, I think, that hold kind of that adapter on, and then you screw in the other adapter that the oil filter bolts onto. So I'll give updates as that gets here. I ordered that like, gosh, it seems like 2 weeks ago now. So it seems like it's taken forever. According to an email I just got yesterday, it's being shipped right now. So hopefully I ordered the right thing. Otherwise, might be waiting a little bit longer. But I'll get it figured out and keep everyone posted on that too. Well, decided to open up the garage doors. Probably one of the last decent days in Minnesota. Well, I say that, but we could get some nice warm days in November. But got the dash sitting up here on my work table. So like I said, my intention is to get the plastic dash off of the steel frame underneath. And then I'll get the steel frame back in the car. May try to clean things up a little bit here. I know I'm not running ABS. And I understand this is an ABS module, so that's gonna go at some point. But yeah, that's the main thing, is getting this steel frame back in this car, and then I'll work on getting the steering column back in. As I'm working away here, as you can see, I'm kind of a neat freak, so I try to label everything as much as I can. Hold the camera right here. So I just pulled the airbag module out of there, so labeled some wires. So I know it slows me down, but I have to recommend, I think we got these at like Costco or Sam's Club or something, and you get like 2 sets of like the printer ribbon and stuff, but I highly recommend this. It seems like the ink, the printing stands up pretty well. Not like I've had this in and out of the car a few times and that it's been in the car with these labels on, but man, it sure is nice to kind of look back after it's sat on that shelf for 6 months or whatever it's been, to know where everything kind of goes. At least that's my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. All right, that was a feat within itself, getting that framework out of there. There's about all these screws from like the glove box side of the dash. These were kind of by the HVAC controls, and these over here by the steering. I'm not even gonna walk through the steps I got through. I'm trying to remember them myself, but I finally got it out of there. Ended up having it. This was attached to the framework of the dash here, so it's up behind the heater duct. Then even this side, I found this advantageous, that this control or module is bolted, screwed onto the dash there, but it was, let's see here, so that's right up behind here. Yeah, behind these heater control, this box here. So I ended up undoing those 2 bolts so it could kind of flop up out of the way. I don't know, man. It's going to be a struggle getting that back on there. So I think that's going to be a big deal to me over the winter, is getting the interior of this car done, including painting the roll cage and everything, so that I can get this done up. I was thinking about like cleaning that all up and painting it, but after doing all this wrestling around, seeing how that wire harness is all strapped on there, I don't know if I'm going to do that, because no one will ever see it except for me. So, but time will tell. It does look like crap because it's all that surface rust. I know everyone always talks about that ever pulls this out of here, but it's just all that tarnished rust. So now looking at it, I don't know if it's going to be worth the effort and time that it would take to actually clean that up. So, and my wire harness looks pretty decent, except for like where it all comes out here, out from towards the firewall, and that's is what goes up to the front end of the car there. So yeah, next step, put some of those screws back in so I don't lose track of where they were supposed to go, as long as I can remember it right now. And then get this dash frame back in the hot rod. All right, so I had all my screws laying out up here, and actually got every screw back in the dash, and I'm pretty sure they're right where they belong. So kind of looking at it upside down, that's the steering column side, passenger side, but got all the screws back in. And now I'm really starting to wonder, like when I do redo this, if I do want to paint it, since I think probably a lot of things ground through this dash. But then I suppose this has to ground to the chassis of the car, yada yada yada. But got everything back in there, got this little box back in place. I had to undo that to get it out past all the heater ducting. Got this one, this module back under here, all bolted back on. So at least I'll know where it belongs when I go to put it back in the car, and can see all the wiring hanging here that goes up to the engine. Underneath some of it stays up underneath the dash, of course. So next step, getting it back in there. Hopefully I can find everything I need. Let's do this. I do have the dash in here. So for those of you that know, there's one bolt up here that's right above the steering column. I can't see it very good, it's kind of dark up there, but it's just above where the steering column is. Then there's just one little bolt here on each side of the dash, but it's in there pretty sturdy. And got it in on that side too. And I got a little over eager and had the dash all mounted in here, and I didn't like feed the wiring through that goes up in the engine bay, so that was a little bit of a fiasco, but it's fed up through there right now. Could probably pull this grommet through a little bit better, but maybe I'll just leave it that way for now. And got all the wiring up here, but getting all the wiring run, well, not all the wiring run, but the original chassis harness basically is getting in place. I might play around, try to get that grommet pop through there a little better, make sure things aren't getting too tight. But yeah, making progress. Dash harness, or dash frame is in. Next is getting that steering column in here. So I'm looking to get the steering column back in there. Can't see it too good right there, but it's a pain in the butt. You can almost I got the steering shaft in there, but anyways, down there is the bolt for the Maximum Motorsport steering shaft, and I couldn't quite get it to reach up there, so what I ended up doing was undoing it from this end that you can kind of see right here and sliding it into the end of the steering shaft. It went nice and easy. Dropped the bolt in, then I went and yanked on that until I could get this screw in there. But there's a bolt that's up in the steering shaft. Yeah, you can't really see it. It's way up in there, up behind. Anyway, can maybe see it there. I can't see it too good on the screen right now if I can. But there's a bolt up there where, yeah, you can see the end of the Maximum Motorsport steering shaft there. But there's a bolt there that goes through. Well, you can't get a ratchet up to it, even with a bunch of extensions and U-joints. Not very easy because it's so close. It's kind of up into the rubber grommet of that steering shaft. So I ended up rotating the steering wheel half a turn, and I had my thankful helper right here, and I had this whole conglomeration kind of weaseled down in here. Kind of weaseled down in here to that top bolt. So it was just long enough. So I had my junior helper over there, and I could just barely get the open end of a 5/8 wrench up where that that U-joint is there. But we got it cinched down, so it should be good to go. And as long as I'm here, I'll show you. I got all the wiring run up through. I got all the wiring hooked back up to the dash, back up in here, in this whole mess here. So a lot of this is dash wiring, but I got all the chassis harness all hooked back up again, and wedged back into the kick panel there. I got the couple of wires over on that side, over there, hooked up. And then a lot of this stuff, oh, never mind, I got a few more wires to hook up. These are stereo wires, but it looks like I got some clutch quadrant and pedal box adjacent. I don't think this one, yeah, no connection. So that one just goes up somewhere. This one has to hook up to something on the clutch quadrant switch. So I'll get those last couple wires hooked up. Got the steering column at least kind of in here for the time being. But yeah, it looks pretty nice and responsive here. So every little move of the steering wheel, There's a little bit of slop right in here. But anything beyond that puts some movement into the steering, into the wheels there. So looks like I might have a little bit of work to get things kind of squared up there when I get to that point, but I'm going to work on getting the rest of these brackets in here. I'm hoping I got enough slack for the hood release to bolt that up in there. And then I'll have the dash pretty much in here. All right, guys, I got the whole dash in, well, not the whole dash, the frame of the dash in here, and got all the wiring hooked up. So it's a whole mess of wires. Got the hood release all bolted in. And then I was looking through some old pictures trying to figure some stuff out, like where there was a wire that went up to the clutch quadrant. And in the process of looking for pictures, I realized I got a little over eager putting that mess of wires up through the firewall. And that whole mess of wires is actually supposed to go above this bracket, this reinforcement bar that's in here. So when I put this dash, I'll have to pull the dash back out of here again, I think. I'm pretty sure, to kind of clean things up a little bit. But when I go to put it back in, I have to remember to run that bundle of wires over that bracket. So kind of a note to myself and to everyone that's listening that that'll go back over. But I'm happy to say everything's all hooked up. Got a steering wheel in here now that actually turns the wheels. Can hear that power steering rack gurgling up there.